right, we'll be starting here right on the hour. And let's get that ad break out of the way first, shall we? That way, we don't have to worry about it for like 30 minutes. Pretty good, if you ask me. And we roll into the ad break here in 20 seconds. Ad break time for 1 minute and 22 seconds. Oh no! We're being ad when I'm supposed to start. That's alright. We can flex a little bit. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. Maybe. Seconds it ends. Enough time to switch my headset battery. There we go. Ad break's over. Stream is ready to start officially. We got that pesky ad out of the way. And we're ready to go. Tonight's stream gonna be pretty good. I mean, aren't they always good? I mean, right? But tonight's stream's gonna be real good. Reached out to the community at large through the social medias, as it were, and trying to fill up the schedule for this year. I kind of cut it off at the end of the year for last year so that I could kind of focus on some other things, but I opened it back up to some other authors to submit their chapters, and we could read those during our Whiskey Wednesday, because that's what I enjoy doing. Alan and Bill the Duck, thank you for the lurk, my friend. Appreciate it as always. Hopefully you had a fantastic stream today. I caught like just the very tail end of it, I think. I was trying to, lurk while I was lurking 5 other channels and setting up stuff. You know how it is. I'm sure. But yeah, so tonight's book, if you can see down below, is going to be called Black Hearts Be Damned by an author, I believe, from the UK, George A. Thorn. gets to go up first for the first author this year that we reached out to. Gets first shot. So we're going to jump into this nautically themed tale. And I'll go ahead and share that book info here in the chat, and hopefully that works out here in the YouTube lands as well. Let's fire up the author and book info. Boom diddy boom boom. So a little bit about George A. Thorn there, and about the book. So you can read that kind of in chat, and hopefully that went out. Yes, it looks like it did. Cool, 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 cool. So if you're interested in the book after we read it today, there's the purchase link there for you, and I'll try to remember to kind of keep putting that out there. Since this author is in a different time zone, they won't be joining us tonight, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. I'm sure that they're going to watch the stream afterwards and the recording on YouTube, which you can also check out at youtube.com/@456, just like it is here on Twitch, if you want to check out the VOD afterwards. So it'll be up there. And I'm thinking about going through the channel too and kind of editing the live stream videos down to just the narration portion, so we can get rid of all the other stuff like the ad breaks and the me talking ad nauseum, right? But we're going to get into that in just a minute. But first, it wouldn't be a Whiskey Wednesday without the darn whiskey, right? Grab your favorite beverage, join me here, and we're going to bring in the rest of this month. I mean, as long as it lasts the rest of the month, which I hopefully does, in style. We're bringing in the new year with, one might say, a bang. That's right, with Ammunition Distillery. See, I swapped the cameras this time so you can actually read it. That's right. A blended bourbon finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. You know what that means? It's fancy. Fancy in this new year. Oh, that wasn't a... Let's try that again. Oh, much better. Much better. Let's get the pour on here. We got to get our cup out to do that. Can't just pour it on the sign. It's kind of weird, though, because I had to, like, reverse the camera so that you could read the text that I hold up, but it's actually... It would be on that direction, but I'm going to turn the opposite direction to pour. It's weird. I don't know. It don't matter. I kind of paid attention to my pour this time. I didn't pour 8 million gallons of it in there. Well, if you're joining me tonight, thank you. Sit back, relax, grab a beverage. We're going to jump into the booth here in just a second. Got the ads out of the way early, so we can just jump in and do some narration. All right, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Probably turn down the music nice and low. Have it kind of on in the background as the ambience. And inevitably, when I get sick of it, I'll turn it off. So that's usually what happens. But yes, so tonight's story. It's a good one. I'm probably not going to read through the entire first chapter because it is a doozy. And I kind of don't want to give away that much of the story. I think if by the time that I've kind of designated, I think, to stop, you're probably interested by then, and you're going to want to go pick it up. So we're going to get pretty good into the story and a good introduction to our main characters, at least a couple of them. And I think it's going to be good. It's kind of like an alternative timeline pirate story. Let's see if you can figure out. I mean, if you read in the chats, you might be able to figure out who this particular person is the grandson of. Or descendant of, I should say. Maybe not grandparent. Or grandson, rather. But I want to test something out here in the YouTube chat real quick. Make sure I have this going correctly. Boom. Okay, so if you are in YouTube, you can now use all of the same commands that we can use in Twitch. So which means, if you look at the commands that are kind of listed, it should go out in kind of a message ever so often in the YouTube chat, what the channel commands are. And if you're in Twitch, you can kind of look down below in the description box, and I list out what the commands are. But here are some of them. Actually, that's really good timing because some of them just popped up. But you can use and I have to change that one too because it's no longer favorite ice cream flavors. It's, if you do exclamation point FF, that'll actually give you the list of favorite beverages for this month because that's our theme. But it was ice cream flavors the first time around. Mental note, change that. If we have a featured artist, which I haven't done lately, but I think we need to get back into, you can type in exclamation point art. That's turned off at the moment because we don't have an artist featured for this stream. You can do exclamation point book. It'll give you a little bit of information about the book, a little synopsis and where you can buy it, if you so choose. And then we also have exclamation point AI, which is not artificial intelligence. It's author info. But I didn't really think about that when I made the command. But now it's staying because why not? So author info will give you a little bit of information about the author. And there you go. That's the main ones. You know, the big ones, I should say. And then, obviously, you can do follow time, which, actually, I don't know if that works on YouTube or not. If you're in YouTube, you want to try that out, let me know. But, try it out, we'll see if it works. But you can also do exclamation point flub, which, as I go through the text today, I'm probably going to mess up. And you can hold me accountable and play the drinking game that several people like to do, then watch the stream. Every time I mess up, they take a drink. I will say, if you're using an adult beverage for that, cheers and drink responsibly because that tongue gets tied. And the more of the whiskey that we enjoy, the more it happens, which means more opportunities to flub and drink up, right? With that, let's reset the counter. We don't want to give ourselves a handicap today, right? We're going for a flawless victory. It's not going to happen. But we're going for a flawless victory. All right. Okay. And, oh, there we go. Don't want to spill our drink already. Tonight's going to be a good night. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Let's pump ourselves up. I got video game music going on right now. Can you hear that? It's actually a playlist from a streamer that's very much more popular than I am, by the name of Harris Heller, and it's his Stream Beats playlist that's on. I mean, you can download it directly from the website. I think it's streambeats.com. I think. Don't quote me on that, but you can Google search it for Stream Beats by Harris Heller, or you can get it directly from the Spotify app, obviously, which is what I'm kind of playing it off of. So you can do it that way, but it's all royalty-free, meant for people to use on their streams without worrying about copyright stuff. It's all music created by him and his, I guess, company. Yeah, production company. Fantastic streamer, too, by the way. And if you're into streaming, has tons of tutorials on his channel. I think it's Senpai Gaming. Could be wrong. But Harris Heller, if you search for that on YouTube, you'll find him. And he does a lot of tutorials on how to do stuff with your stream, which is really cool. I'm learning a lot from it, actually. Kind of brushing up on some of those really rusty skills from, 8 years ago when I tried this thing. So I'm kind of relearning it, and the environment's all new and all that kind of stuff. Who cares, right? Let's get into what we're actually going to read. Maybe is that what we kind of want to do? Because we can go to the booth. Are you
still talking?
Yeah, I'm still talking. Let's go over. I get it. Let's go over to the booth. Let's do that, huh? Let's go read. All right. Yeah. All right. Into the booth. Excited to be back in here. It's like I'm in here every day, though. Oh, it's because I am. You might have noticed, too, from last time, I've changed the position of the camera just slightly so that I don't have an elongated schnoz. Hopefully it's better. Hopefully that the angle is better for you. So, good, actually looks pretty good on stream. Yeah, not bad. All right. can tell you right now that music is going to be too loud. It's going to distract the heck out of me, so let's turn it down a little bit. And, all right. About ready to get into our stream. We're already in the stream. Welcome. Let's get into our narration, which is the whole point and why we're here. All righty. So, let's get started. I'm going to give myself a flub, so we don't even have to worry about the first one. All right. Black Hearts Be Damned. Chapter 1. Initiation. Great-grandfather's jacket was a bit long in arm length, but complemented the dangling mess of gold wrapped around his neck that hid his clean-frilled shirt. While his beard could not match the messiness of his grandfather's, being trimmed and styled to match his striking jawline, he felt distinguished to have finally grown one which wasn't embarrassing. Too many dine-ins in the island taverns, which kept the merry tunes of old blasting when the morning sunlight shone, told him that what he had before wasn't working. Bio. Courting the wenches that served the island's best-tasting rum couldn't land this young lad any partnership. He has to compete with the soggy, toothless regulars, whose coordination with the sea was vastly mediocre to his. The young man always winced at the idea that some of these champions of the sea would have an earring to help with their eyesight. A load of hogwash, he thought. However, given his love for the very thing he was born into, he had to deal with those small imperfections now. Keeping your people pleased at the highest ranking of the islands, with a legend of the game in the back catalog of your family tree, which started this dream, would be daunting. As his breaths rode his chest up and his back stood straight, the last thing to attach would be the cutlass. It laid on his desk underneath his mirror, glistening in the morning sun through his bedside window. It was something that could stand the test of time, something that, if this was all come crashing down and sink to the deepest, darkest depths of Davy Jones' locker, it would survive and let others know of the carnage it had split from those who wielded it. That's a funny one. Let's try that again. Davy Jones' locker. From the deepest, darkest depths of Davy Jones' locker, it would survive and let others know of the carnage it had split from those who had wielded it. Why do I keep trying to say wielded it? It's wielded it. It's gonna get good. Stay tuned. What are we up to? 7? It's a good night for that drinking game. All right, here we go. Pure silver down the handle, engraved with the scripture of oath when pirate captains take up the title. The text glided across the blade in tiny text reading, "A captain's word is hearsay. A pirate's blade is swift. The seas command your way. A tale of infamy you'll bring." As he read it, he lifted it to his eyes, familiar and bold, sweet poetry to his ears. The presentation is almost complete as the sword drops down into the pouch. One last piece, the most synonymous piece that completes the puzzle. The charred hat hung down on the corner of his mirror, a present and ever so familiar sight to anyone from the pirate nation. One local would refer to it as the crown of many captains to bring good fortune laden with the blood of those who dare keep it from them. Getting all phlegmy. The young man heard those stories, enjoyed them as a child, and went into depth as a teenager. Now, as a man, he understood the mantle, but to him, it was still the only piece his great-grandfather had bestowed upon him. The family dynasty had reclaimed power after 2 generations of different leaders. The Teach name he bore would be established on the pedestal of greats. But how would the young man be distinguishable from his era-defining grandfather? Even though his father would recount the tales told by his father, the name Blackbeard would still not match the man they portrayed outside the role of the captain to the IIC. As he reached for it, he wondered how his people would react should he not wear it. The decorum may have changed, but the superstitious attitudes of his people would undoubtedly look on and think of the consequences should he not don the famous hat. Will the heavens open? Will the tide rise so high it will take the islands? Or will a beast rise up like the mighty kraken and destroy the docks to a horrifying degree? Feeling the weight, he took to his pocket to draw a silver coin to decide his fate. Flicking it high into the air, he awaited to catch and see where the coin would take him. But it was not to be. A hand stretched over and snatched the falling coin. The sudden movement spooked him with a single gasp, as the coin was pulled away to another pair of eyes.
Superstition rarely gets the better of you. Something must be on your mind, the older man said.
If parading around in a stolen white wig of hair used by British judges was absurd enough, the elderly man was not fazed by his spotless clothing choices. Dressed in a jacket woven from 2 separate garments and boots, the heels were obviously used to boost his height.
"Father, where does my fate lie?"
the young man asked, his voice timid with nerves.
"The unknown changing your outlook on things? That's not the Teach way, Sebastian. Your great-grandfather knew how superstitious nature clouded the workforce," the elder Teach said.
"Our people don't lose touch with the very fabric of our culture, Father. There's no good tiding to those who forget the past."
"Very true. But past traditions can often lead in the wrong direction. Look where you are now, reclaiming the very throne our family worked so hard for. You won triumphantly. You're already one up on me. Keep playing the game, and the spoils will be yours,"
Sebastian's father said. Sebastian turned again to see the captain's hat. He took it off the mirror corner and examined all its creases, while his father studied the coin.
"Do you still want me to tell you the coin's fate?"
Sebastian's father asked. Sebastian looked at himself in the mirror, almost anxiously awaiting his reflection to say something. That side of him that he wishes would come out more, would automatically know what he wanted to do with his words and actions. But it was still hidden behind a wall of shyness. If he ever looked to break the barriers of what the IIC was capable of, he would have to take away one brick at a time. All right, come to a little break here. All right, let's jump back into it, shall we?
In the hour of the captain's course, very different eyes have steered the ship to a greater understanding of our cause. We reminisce about the golden age of our first 3 leaders, one of which is handing over the reins to a new yet familiar name. Sebastian Teach, son of his chosen quartermaster, Edward Teach II. Great-grandson to the founding father, who brought all of his here for a life away from restraint. This family knows the tricks of the trade and will control the fates of those who swear to destroy us. It is now that we say to you, Sebastian Teach, will ye serve?
The speaker asked in a loud cry that swept through the crowd of 20,000 pirates all gathered around the beach stage, fashioned from a public hanging set. In the familiar territory of the pirate port Tortuga, New Providence's land thrived from its upbeat music, shops, and people. The weather was blistering hot for all in attendance, but even worse for young Sebastian, who felt the sweat falling down his forehead as he donned the famous garments. Perhaps, with the hat, he wouldn't have had such a hard time seeing everyone on the sandy beach of the Tortuga port. Nevertheless, he kept straight and proud, and answered the time-honored tradition of the captain's swear.
"I will serve,"
he said calmly. The speaker, who wore an executioner's hood, continued the proceedings by wielding a small dagger, raising it to the crowd for all to see, even the large group behind the podium, reserved for all kinds of slaves. Soon, up came two wenches in rose-colored gowns, carrying the stone slab that held a piece of parchment nailed solidly at the top. This parchment had seen better days and had been through the harshest of storms. A sacred part of the Republic, barely hanging on by a single nail that had rusted in its time. As they got to Sebastian, both dropped to one knee and lifted the slab high, keeping the heavy rock steady as it was presented to the new captain. Sebastian looked at its writings and recited them in his head. The familiarity with the IIC's constitution was burned into his memory. Its commandments were simple but effective, and had stabilized the island since its inception. The black-hooded speaker brought the knife down and swiped at Sebastian's palm, gliding down his skin with blood gushing from its clean cut. It did not faze the young ruler in the slightest. He had seen much worse. He was numb to it almost. As he scrunched his hand into a fist, squeezing the blood like fresh lemon, he extended his thumb and pressed it onto the delicate paper. He was cemented now as the fourth leader of the IIC, forever scribbled into the history books. His bloody fingerprint now sat beside his predecessor's. As he released the pressure of his thumb, he looked closely at his great-grandfather's, seeing if there was any similarity between them. Blackbeard's thumbprint was dark, but the skin pattern was visible, even though a quarter of it was covered in a thick texture that looked as if it could take the paper with it if it was cleaned. First the hat, now the blood print. In Sebastian's mind, he knew he could be different. With enough passion as he could muster, Sebastian pounded his chest with his crimson-covered fist and brought the cutlass out from his hip guard, raising it high into the air as he screamed at the top of his lungs. The two wenches got back up to stand on 2 feet and turned to show the signed constitution. The crowd erupted with cheers, swords waved, and pistols fired. The celebrations were about to commence at the famous port. The cannon fire erupts from the sailing ship behind them. The bowsprit was an old decaying ship, brought about in the famous raid victory by Blackbeard, but only used for the finest occasions. Like the tropical flowers strung around the wench's beach-blonde hair, skulls of fallen foes were strung across its creaking stern and bow. However, Sebastian's thrill was dampened as his father came to his side, playing to the crowd before whispering in his ear, "We have to leave. We need to see him straight away." Alrighty. Come to another little break here. Mama Rednecks. Never cut the palm. That's right. To easily cut the tendons and render your hand unusable. I never really thought about that. Good point. Bad idea. You always see that in movies, though. Like if they're doing the whole, blood oath thing, and they always slice their palm, right? Usually. I rarely see them, slice, the fingers or something like that. You know, take a chunk out of your arm, maybe. Maybe that's the best way to do it. I don't know. Or just don't do it at all. How about that? You know, you can just sign the paper. It doesn't have to be in blood. Does it really mean more if it's in blood? Maybe it's symbolic. Well, it's obviously symbolic. But... Nice to see you, Mama. Yes. Yes, it does. All right. We are a little bit into the story by Mr. George A. Thorn called Black Hearts Be Damned. It's kind of a historical fiction, alternate timeline, Blackbeard's ancestors taken over and sailing the seas, pirate adventure. I did a horrible job of explaining that, but, boop, there you go. Nice to see you, too. And, it's always fun to drop in on a Whiskey Wednesday, right? Get that Whiskey Wednesday in, enjoy your favorite beverage. Doesn't have to be whiskey. And sit back and relax for a reading filled with professional flubs, because that's what I provide. Some people decided to turn in the flub game into a drinking game. So if you'd like to participate, drink responsibly, is what I'll say. Because tonight, tongue's getting in the way. I mean, let's be honest, that's every night, but Anyways, Ooh, an ad is going to start in a minute. I was going to start up again, but I'm going to strategically pause and wait for that ad to start. Although, what's weird is, and I don't know if you've experienced this, at the beginning of the stream, it seems like the timer is off from when it actually did start, which is weird. Maybe I just looked at it wrong or something, but I will also remember to do this time. You can't handle that. You might not be able to, you know, it gets real thick in there. You rarely flub enough to be distracting. No, your ad counter is funky too, right? Okay. And definitely check out Mama's channel there. Also a streamer. Okay, and it says now it's supposed to start. But if my thing that I enabled on the stream works, we haven't heard the Old Spice jingle yet, which means it hasn't started, which means it's about to start. It's like 20 or 30 seconds after it tells me it's going to. It's weird, and I hate it. And I don't know why it's like such a struggle, too, right? I don't know. But were you streaming today? I think... I want to say earlier in the morning, I was like perusing through the reading and writing stream, and I think I saw you streaming. Or maybe I'm like hallucinating. If so, how was your stream? Hopefully it was good. Ah, there's the sound. So now we know it's going to start in like... Oh, it did start. Okay. Just that time and give me like 10 seconds or something. Yes, I stream early mornings. Oh, okay. No telling. It wouldn't be Twitch if it was right. Right? It's kind of clunky. I'm just going to start ignoring it until I hear the Old Spice jingle. And then I'll know it's coming. Because at least that's working correctly, it seems. So. I also have to figure out something to do during like our ad breaks. Like, what do we do? You know? Narration, voiceover themed. Maybe I read the last paragraph, but in a different accent to practice that. Excuse me. I've been practicing a lot of my Russian accent. I've been playing a lot of GTA RP with a friend, and I created a Russian character primarily to practice that accent, to brush up on it and make sure that I'm familiar with it. So. That's been a lot of fun, and maybe I'll start streaming some of that. I don't know. I don't know if there's a big desire to watch that necessarily from me, but it's fun. Might as well, right? And it's good improv and accent practice, so it's kind of applicable, right, to all the voice acting stuff, which I have one announcement that will be coming soon that I cannot say a damn thing about because I'm under NDA, but it's exciting and I can't wait. And then I have another thing that I'll be bringing to the stream here. It's actually an audio drama that I'm cast in. And I thought, why not share some of that with the stream as well and do some voice acting for a change instead of just reading, you know, straight through a chapter, you know, or narrating a book, which I will also be starting up here soon. I think I figured out my technical difficulties in that regard. So I can start actually narrating for real a book that I am working on currently. And you can kind of see the whole process, right? And it's basically this, but when I mess up, I actually stop and go back and re-record over it and make sure it's perfect before I move on. Really the only difference. But the story that I'm reading right now is a really good story. I'm really enjoying it. It's called The Second Bride by Kurt Dyer. It's about angels and demons and this whole thing with like a succubus, and it's like right up my alley. Like, I don't know why I'm so weirdly fascinated with that type of stuff, but I'll be recording that probably on stream here soon. Just one more little thing to kind of figure out, and then I'll be doing that kind of live. So if you are interested in that, you can tune in. What's the schedule for that? Don't know, but I'll figure it out and let you know. so there's that. Let's get back into this because I think the ad break is over. I've vamped enough, right? Um, oh yeah, I just pushed the button randomly throughout sprints. Oh, okay. You did. I put my aliens with a Russian accent. Very nice. As you do. Huzzah for NDAs. This is the second time I've been under like an NDA for a project. And they are oddly frustrating in a way because I just want to tell everybody, right? But it's like, I can't even hint at what it is. It's that kind of thing, right? But it's cool, and I can't wait to talk about it, I guess, in a way. But oddly frustrating. The whole process was how I got into writing. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I certainly want to hear more. Well, there will be more. So I will provide for your desire. That sounds weird. I'm not going to finish that sentence. You know where I was going. You know what I meant. Let's get back into it. Here we go. Make sure nobody say anything on YouTube. No, okay, we're good. All right, jump back into it. Actually, I lied. Let's take a sip first of the whiskey on the Whiskey Wednesday. Okay, now let's jump back into it. Here we go. All right. Past the doors, the Tortuga Medical House was a strong, fortified underground dwelling, dripping with moisture. Priding itself on the most straightforward and barbaric measures of practice, yet lacking basic hygiene, you wouldn't feel like you were being treated for your ailments. Sebastian and his father walked through the guards on either side, brandishing cutlass swords to intimidate even the people in the hammocks. A place of aid was coated in lime green and yellow-colored walls. Sebastian and Edward were facing one man who sat in the only wooden-framed bed and didn't need any more treatment. His demise would be soon. One nurse catered to his heavy breathing and sweating by placing a cold cloth across his head as she sat by his side. The man's beard was gray, his head bald, his skin sagging, and his bones showing through his skin's thin layer. A man who had once held the coveted title of captain now laid in a bed, worse for wear than he was. Sebastian thought at one stage that he and the bed would go simultaneously. He and his father looked at each other like they wanted the other to say something. It didn't dawn on Sebastian that he would be the one to speak first. Again, his newly found title still didn't make his mind sharp to the situation. He would have to change that. Quick. At first, Sebastian cleared his throat loudly to get the man's attention, but to no avail. "Captain Norton," Sebastian said. No answer. It seemed as if nothing would get his attention. Edward watched his son try to think of a solution to the problem in his head, imagining that steam would soon shoot out from his ears. In the end, Edward knew that he had to be... No, that's what it says. Okay. Am I not reading this correctly? In the end, Edward knew he had to be the part of his brain that thought for him outside the stone castle with lavish quarters. No, there might be a typo in there, I think. Okay. Taking the initiative, Edward drew out the solution. His cutlass. Sebastian looked at his father with confusion and hesitancy. "It will end quicker this way," Edward said. "Leave us." The nurse got up from the stool and walked away with the damp rag. Both men went to either side of the frail Captain Norton, soon realizing how brave the nurse was to keep herself close to the decaying stench coming from the captain for so long. As they looked down on him, they looked at each other. "Mutiny would have been kinder," Sebastian mumbled. "He'd pray that more than a successor he didn't ask for." "He'd pray for that more than a successor he didn't ask for," Edward said. Sebastian's father then held the sword with both hands over to his son, showing that it would be him to take his predecessor's life. "He will be in good hands. His death will be felt, but the seas will carry his name with the wind."
He will be in good hands. His death will be felt, but the seas will carry his name with the wind. Live by the blade.
Die by the blade, Sebastian finished. An eerie sentiment, but one to have in your head constantly. As Sebastian took the blade, he and his father again had their attention on the dying captain, as the sounds of his throat distorted. Heavy and gargling, there was not much time left before the inevitable.
The rattle. Death is playing with his new toy,
Edward said. Edward was all too familiar with the captain. He seemed relaxed, but his face showed the emotion he had for the captain. Sebastian knew how close the two were to the pirate court. Learning about it would come with the job. He would now be the one to sever that tie. Grasping it with both hands and lifting it above his head, Sebastian waited and counted the seconds of his breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Before the fifth gargled breath could leave the captain's mouth, his sunken, milky eyes stared up at the young man, with the blade before the eventual drop. The sunken, milky eyes stared up at the young man with the blade before the eventual drop. It almost stopped Sebastian in his act of succession. Excuse me. It almost stopped Sebastian in his act of succession. But before he could feint his strike, the sword came down on the captain's neck in a clean slice. The cutlass was now through the sheets, and Sebastian quickly drew it back to his side. The deed was done, but seeing the captain looking up at his death would undoubtedly stay with Sebastian's dreams for a while. He tried not to let superstition get the best of him, but he knew it would haunt him. Sebastian had only been in the captain's quarters once, a brief visit alongside his father when he was younger. It hadn't changed since the last time. Thinly veiled curtains gave the room a shade of deep red. The mahogany wood furniture and walls would absorb the color, while the fireplace behind the desk brought warm comfort for the night. This was to be his office daily for the remainder of the IIC's lifespan. He would be the beating heart of the operation, overseeing the quality of life for his people, the trades, and the enemies. The desk was clear of anything that resembled paperwork, a guise that lured him over to the tall armchair to sit. Sebastian spread his hands along the table that was now his. He would never know what would come to his desk in the coming days, but at least today, it was his father.
Don't get too comfortable. A pirate's life may be luxurious, but the captain must handle everything, and it is my duty to keep you up to speed with everything,
Edward said as he walked up to the desk to circle around his son.
Now, having relieved the former Captain Norton's duties and misery, I must tell you that the Americans in Washington are not happy at the moment.
For what purpose? Sebastian asked.
Since our recent blockade against the Spanish and French entering Mexico, they're a little bit twitchy at the helm. That and the northern and southern states have been at war for a few years,
Edward said. As he walks to Sebastian's left, he lays out a map of America and uses his finger to guide Sebastian's eyes.
And there we will stop for now on this tale of the salty sea dogs.
The pirates, as it were. So I think where we're leaving off, basically Sebastian has taken over, who's the ancestor of Blackbeard, and he is the new captain now, as I think he just ended the life of the previous captain, giving him a merciful death there, as he met his end, I guess. And then the story continues from there. So if you're interested, let me put this out there. This is a little bit of information about the author and a little bit about the book if you are interested and you wanted to pick that up. New writer, self-published, and here on Whiskey Wednesdays, we read anyone's first chapter that wants to submit and listen to it out loud. I don't know if that's... I'm not a writer myself, so I don't critique the writing, okay? I do catch typos here and there because it's a little different when you're reading it out loud, right? And especially if you have somebody else reading it, you're like, oh, I didn't catch that before, because it's somebody else, right? Your brain does this weird thing. Even when I'm narrating, it'll throw words in that aren't there, or it'll take out words that are there. That happens a lot too. Substituting A's for thes and ofs. It's weird. It's like your brain wants to, because you're always reading ahead, at least a sentence or two, to try to catch character dialogue tags when they're there and, be prepared for the next line that you're going to deliver. And sometimes your brain does things that's not there. So I think sometimes, especially like when you're hearing somebody else read it out loud, that can be super helpful, right? So even if you're a writer and you have, an idea, your manuscript for your first chapter, and you just want to hear it out loud, submit it over to me. You can shoot me a message or email me at justin@456.com, and we'll read it live on stream. There you go. A couple of things that I do want to talk about too, kind of along those veins a little bit. Let me switch back over to the desk. It's a little bit more comfortable in there. Doesn't cook as much. I'll see you there in just a second. Let's switch over, shall we? Yes, we shall. Where's the button? There's the button. Here we go. All right. Did I do it right? I did. Yay. Must find a way out of booth. Okay. We're back. We're back. Okay. Wonderful job. Well, thank you very much there, Mama. Thank you for joining the stream and taking a listen to my rambling butt. Yeah, I have the Autobot read because it's off already, so I catch more errors. Yeah, just hearing it kind of read out loud probably helps a lot. Oh, Justin, you just joined the TSP Discord. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I was going to talk about. The same page Discord. So just putting this out there for the people that are going to watch the VOD later. Just joined that Discord, and what's really cool is in February, and correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be kind of like a poem month. Like, I can't remember what the actual official theme of it's going to be, but it's poetry. So you can submit your poetry, and different streamers will read that on their stream. So I'm super excited about that. I've read, obviously, all the famous, school assignments and things like that. I've read a bit of poetry through that, but I don't really read a lot of poetry on my own time. So I'm actually super interested to read that, just to get more experience reading it and experience more of it. I kind of want to dive into more of it. I remember in school and like your English class and stuff, diving into poetry was always like, because you're like analyzing it, and it's school, it's homework, right? Who wants to do that? Ask my son. He'll tell you how much he loves homework. So it's just one of those things. But, as I kind of go further along into this like profession, I want to be exposed to more, right? Which is great. Whiskey Wednesdays is a great avenue to be experienced to a whole bunch of different genres, a lot of genres that I never would have picked out to read myself, right? Like we've read part of a spicy romance novel, which is not a genre that I'm into, but it was interesting to read it, right? To get that little bit of experience there. And it's just cool. And I've met a lot of really cool people doing the streaming thing, like you, Mama. I've met a lot of other people that are in the craft of writing and reading, and it's cool. I'm enjoying it, so I'll definitely keep doing it. But poetry is kind of what I was getting at as I ramble. The same page is where you can kind of go there and submit that if you're a writer, and I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that's in that channel about it that you can read up on. Not super well versed, but just to say, here in February, be reading a lot of poetry, so it's gonna be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. So, just putting the two and two together, and you figured it out. Yep, you did. You got it. That's a great opportunity to learn from others too. Yes, Ryder Lee. That's where I learned about TSP actually this morning, is doing daily prompts, and we have discussions in the Discord. Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. All right, so you're filling it in there. Luna, hello. Thank you for joining us. You're catching me right at the tail end here. But today we read a story by a first time-ish author. And it was a tale about Blackbeard's ancestor, a new young captain taking over the ship, as it were, the IIC, and his kind of initiation into power, if you will, becoming a great captain. We'll see. But information about it is right here. Thanks for joining us there, Luna. So if you're interested in kind of looking through that and maybe picking the book up, there's the link for it. And it'll all be recorded on the YouTube channel and the VODs and all that if you want to kind of take a listen to it there. So we will, before we go, be talking about one more thing, and then we'll probably just raid another reading streamer. So if you want to continue along that journey with me, then stay tuned. First up, last stream, we read a short horror story from the Other Stories podcast. It was called Alien, and they're doing this whole thing right now where they're doing a reanimated series where they're taking a lot of their first short stories that they submitted on the podcast, and they're redoing them, if you will, new narration and new production, because now they have a more experienced team. So the production value on Alien, which is out now, it's episode 101.1. It's probably the second one down from the top at this point because they just had an interview they did, but the production value on this, it makes me sound so good. Let's put it that way. It's fantastic. So highly encourage you to go check that out on the otherstories.net podcast. It's on all your Spotify and Apple and all that kind of stuff. You can look it up there wherever you get your podcasts, but really good production to that. Just really, really, really good production value to it. Highly encourage you to check those out. Okay, let's go raid someone else, shall we? Next Wednesday we'll be back. Maybe this Friday. I'm trying to work out one other little technical issue like I was talking about earlier, and I might be able to do some live narrating of my actual process in a book I'm working on right now for an audiobook. So if that's the case, that'll probably be Friday at the earliest. If not, I will see you next Wednesday for another Whiskey Wednesday. We're booked up for this month already with some fantastic chapters from some authors. And I can't wait to bring you their stories. And something happened. Oh, Luna followed. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm not used to all the sound effects yet. I'll get there. I'll get used to it. But next Whiskey Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, we'll be bringing you another story. That will happen, but maybe this Friday, like I was saying. But let's take a look and see who's streaming. In the reading and writing category. Is Neff still on? I do love me some Neff. It was a fantastic. He's on. We're gonna go raid Neff because Neff is amazing, and I've been trying to get Neff to start doing some voice acting and audiobooks and stuff. And hey, you can't do it right now because of reasons, and I don't want to pry. That's fine, but I'm just saying, do it, Neff, because you need to. I love listening to his voice. I think he'd be a fantastic narrator at least. And I've heard some of the stuff he's done for like a little bit of voice acting stuff. Really good. So let's go raid. Shall we? Fantastic channel. Let's go over there. I volunteer as tribute for content. All right. Let's do it. If you want to, shoot me an email with your stuff and I'll read it out. I got you. And maybe, like, I haven't looked at the length of all the other chapters either. So if it's something you want to just like try out, I'm like, hey, read this out loud. I just kind of want to hear it. Let me know, and I can definitely throw it in a little bit sooner. But I think the earliest opening I have is next month for sure. But yeah, if you want to throw in that, just shoot me an email, message me, whatever, or I'm on the Discord, whatever. Get a hold of me, and we'll get you on there for sure. For sure, that'd be really cool to read one of your pieces. That'd be cool. All right. Are you good with DM on Discord? Yeah. Any means that you want to contact me on, do it. I'm fine with it. Any way possible. It's all open, is what I'm saying. All right, let's go to Neff. I said we were going to do it. Now we're going to do it. Let's go. All right, bye. See you there. I hit the wrong thing. We're not going to be right back. We're going to be ending. All right, here's the raid. See you over there.
Cockzilla. Shh. Clearly you don't realize you're in. Gotta love a raid during an ad break.